Welcome to another Fireside chat. It looks like we all survived the apocalypse, and I thought that there's no better way to get into the post-Mayan apocalypse spirit than to have a little stove warming. And so I've got a little Kelly kettle here, and this is the first time I'm going to fire it, and you can laugh at my misfortune if it doesn't work, and marvel at great piece of technology if it does. So what are we talking about today? I think given that we just all survived a apocalypse, maybe we should talk about that. I guess the first thing to say is that, you know, there's a lot of people that unfortunately went and drained their bank accounts and did all sorts of things, maxed out credit cards thinking the world was going to end, so let's have a big party beforehand. And you know, they're now going to have to answer for all of that because they were suffering from some big mass delusion, and it sucks to be them, big dopes. So what was the whole thing about anyway? Well, number one, it seemed to me, reading the history of the whole Mayan calendar and stuff, that they weren't even interpreting that right, and they were, you know, using that to get good news stories, basically. And so a bunch of people got riled up and went out, and a bunch of people made a lot of money making movies and you know, little shows on Discovery about it, about how the world was going to end and everything. And here we still are. I think it must have been a very attractive idea to some people that you know, there's a ancient civilization that's, like, you know, more in touch with the earth than we are, and way smarter than we are, and you know, they knew way ahead of time what was going to happen in our times and all this. And you know, it's probably the same kind of appeal that Nostradamus has. But I hate to break it to you, but there's no such thing as magic, and you know, mystical thinking never did anything for anyone. It never built a single skyscraper, never put a single tire on a car, never invented a car. All that mystical thinking does is basically create a way for governments and civilizations to control people. For instance, in the case of, and I'm not talking about the Mayans now, I'm just talking generally, if you're a witch doctor and you know enough about astronomy to know that in 2 weeks there's going to be an eclipse, you can use that information to manipulate the hell out of your people. You can say, well, if you guys don't bring me 10 tributes of 5 fatted lambs and all these different things, then the gods are going to be angry and they're going to block out the sun for a day. And the first time you say that, the people are going to be like, yeah, right, whatever, you're an idiot. Gods aren't going to do any such thing. And then the sun gets blocked out. Well, we're boiling. I wasn't expecting it that fast. Give me 1 second. I had to get a little bit more water because there's wood sticking up out of the chimney here, and I don't want to lift this off and have that wood fall all over the place. I'm going to let it go a little bit, but you can't, with these, you can't let them burn empty. So I've got a little bit more water just in case I need to add a little bit. I have a shin cup. It has less meat than a thigh cup, but I like these because they're spicy and tasty, and there's no junky stuff in there. And they're also real light and cheap. This was less than $1, and it's plenty of food for me for lunch. I got a little tea I'm gonna make. I think we're ready. go ahead and empty that into there. So anyway, if you're a professional witch doctor, you can use things like astrological charts to manipulate the hell out of your people. And don't think that, like, because we don't use astrological charts to manipulate people anymore, that we're somehow more sophisticated. Because Exhibit A would be a Time magazine cover from the 1970s saying that we're all going to die because there's going to be an ice age. And now they started, just 10 years after that, the same people that were publishing that crap are now, 10 years after they published that, started publishing about how we have all this global warming and we're all going to die and blah blah blah. Basically creating mass stupid hysteria, neglecting all sorts of things like the medieval warming period and lots of other things, and the fact that we're actually cooler now than we've been at many other times in Earth's history. So you have to ignore all of that in order to get all hysterical about the global warming stuff. And you know that we may actually be warming, and I don't necessarily see that as a bad thing. Warmer periods in human history have usually been, you know, a pretty good thing. You may have heard of the Renaissance. And again, I'm not a climate scientist. I'm not really qualified to talk about any of this. I'm just pointing out that don't think that because the Mayans used astronomy that you know, that we're somehow a lot better, because we manipulate the hell out of our citizens and fellow human beings all the time with the same goals of power and control and things like that. Like, let's say that today there really was some sort of a big mass apocalypse casualty type event. Like, what would happen? I mean, assuming that not everybody dies in the event and that there are people left, like, what really happens? Well, just this year, even just a month ago, we had a mass kind of disaster in New York, Hurricane Sandy, and it was terrible, and lots of different problems, and you know, all sorts of things went wrong there. But a lot of stuff went right in that volunteer organizations like Team Rubicon, I'm a member of that one, by the way, went out there and basically started to help with cleanup and all those things. And we have a long ways to go there. But the fact of the matter is that people pulled together. And there's lots of other examples of mass, you know, problems where we haven't behaved so well. Other hurricanes, for instance, and earthquakes and other sorts of things. Man, that is quick. And I'm not sure what the difference is between the two situations, except that maybe culturally the different locations where this stuff happens, culturally they're different enough that one group of people reacts a certain way and another group of people reacts in a better way. And I'm not really sure you can say that it's due to income or money or lack thereof, or a lot of other things. Although the areas in New York were very much more wealthy than some of the other places where people have behaved badly after similar hurricanes. I was fortunate enough to go and help in Haiti in the days after the earthquake there, and the income level there was like, was nothing. They make like I don't know what the per capita income is, but it's like on the order of dollars a day, you know. So and they were behaving very well. Let me tell you what I saw, and maybe this matches your experience, maybe it doesn't, but what I saw was in Haiti, people were immediately, I mean, they were sad that they had loved ones die and things, but they got on with life, and they didn't spend a lot of time like trying to loot each other and kill each other and all sorts of other things. And if poverty is to blame, then certainly you would expect that in one of the poorest countries, certainly in the Western Hemisphere. If government corruption was to blame, certainly you'd expect it in one of the countries with the most corrupt government in the Western Hemisphere. So I don't think it's that. I think it's the people themselves that determines how they're going to react to natural disasters. You know, the people there, they were immediately, one of the things that I was most shocked about was I went up to a school up in the mountains that was run by some nuns, and most of the people, the school was just flattened, and most of the people were killed, but there were a few students left. And because the convent had a artesian well, like a little tent city kind of sprung up around it, if you want to call these tents. And there were children there, and they were all like, they all seemed very happy. Like, you know, they didn't seem to have much of a, didn't seem to be as affected as I would have expected them to. And of course I was just seeing the surface, but you know, I would have expected even on the surface to see a lot different reaction from people. One of the other things I noticed was that even in the most dire of circumstances, you had people like literally living in the mud with a house that they built out of some sticks with some plastic over it. They took the time to, you know, dress well and behave in a dignified manner, and I was very, very impressed with that. And I have to give my hats off to the Haitian people. I'm talking about dignified behavior while I'm eating like a pig. That's pretty funny. I think back to another example of people behaving well after a major problem, and that happened in Iowa here a couple years ago, but you never heard about it. Number one, because people don't give a shit about Iowa, and we kind of like it that way. We don't want people knowing how nice we have it here. And number two, there was no drama. There were no murders, there wasn't looting, there wasn't people saying, you know, where is the government to help me and all this. They basically pulled together and made it work. Cleaned up the mess and did their best to help each other and get on with life. Getting back to Haiti just for a second, you'd think that in a major disaster like that, it'd be impossible to get anything. You know, like, you want a toothbrush, good luck. You know, because we're all told that, you know, everything shuts down and you can't get anything, and so you have people hoarding like truckloads worth of toilet paper and all kinds of other stuff, and, you know, preppers. Well, as soon as their government got out of the way, and I mean like the same day the earthquake happened, capitalism broke out everywhere. There were all kinds of people selling stuff on the street, people trying to make a buck here and there, whereas before, you know, you couldn't do that. Now all of a sudden you could take your little portable grill and buy some ears of corn from somebody for 10 good and add value by roasting them and sell them for 20 good a piece. So, and there was a thriving open air market there. I want to say it was the Baleen market. Anyway, it was just interesting to see what we think would happen in an apocalyptic event, and certainly an earthquake that kills that many people is an apocalyptic event. It's interesting to see what we think would happen and compare it to what really did happen. What did I get out of that? Well, number one, I stopped thinking about those tragedies as something where, you know, you have to be so wary of everyone around you. And the thing is, I grew up knowing better than that, because we always had things like every year the power would go out or something. You know, we lived in the country, and when people pulled together, pulled resources, and made it work. But you know, when the only thing you see, the only thing the media covers is there's a hurricane or an earthquake, and all of a sudden it's let's go shopping and loot all these stores and burn cars and kill each other. It's hard not to be affected by that and to think that that might happen near you, and it very well could, depending on where you live. It's just you can't really spend your whole life looking at other people as this person's gonna snap at any minute and steal all my shit, and if anything goes down, I'm gonna get my high power out and sit up on my roof, and if anyone comes near my house, I'm gonna snipe them. And it's just foolishness. And that movie Red Dawn didn't do anything to help anyone. I'm talking about the original one, because people are paranoid anyway, and if you take and make a movie that kind of plays on that, you know, it just kind of feeds into itself. So anyway, with regards to apocalypses and natural disasters, don't listen to witch doctors anymore. If you do, you know, more power to you. It's your time, your money, your life. You're free to live it however you want. But you're a dope. As far as what to do, if you're planning on, you know, what am I gonna do if something goes down and there's like a natural disaster, well, just be a nice person. Make friends with your neighbors and your community. Be an upstanding person in your community, and you won't have to worry about stuff like that, because you'll have a built-in network. And if the people where you live, if they're not like you and you think they're apt to snap and try to steal crap from you, and they're just not dependable people, move.